It has been a while since I've studied math. So while I don't want to put any students on the spot since it's summer vacation, I may need a little help with this math question. How do you take 8 sheep? How many sheep?
8.
How do you take 8 sheep that are scattered throughout the room, and how do you bring them together to be 10 sheep? Or, there's a new Despicable Me movie out. How do you take 8 minions scattered throughout the room, and as difficult as that is, how do you bring them all together to be 10 minions? How's that for a question? You do what? You round them up. You guys know? 8 scattered sheep.
You rounded up to 10. Good weather.
Oh, Father, we need help.
Rough crowd.
Today's scriptures are all about rounding up. No, not math. But we're talking about shepherding. Did you hear today's first reading? In today's first reading, the prophet Jeremiah essentially says there are 2 types of shepherds in this world. One type of shepherd rounds up and gathers the sheep together and cares for the sheep. And the other type of shepherd, he says in the first line of today's first reading, woe to you shepherds who scatter the flock. And if we were honest, isn't it true that we could all think of times when our words or actions caused people to be driven away rather than being brought near? Jesus in today's gospel came and saw the people, and as Mother Annie suggested when we began Mass, Jesus had compassion on the people because they were like what? Sheep without what? A shepherd. They were in need of someone to bring them together and to show them the merciful face of God. Which is why I love today's responsorial psalm. It's probably the most famous psalm, Psalm 23. You've heard it before. What is Psalm 23? The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. There is nothing I shall want. God is like a shepherd or a shepherdess who draws us close and takes care of us. Not like those shepherds and shepherdesses in the first reading that scattered the flock. So sisters and brothers, the question for us becomes, how are we going to be this week? Our words and actions are powerful things. Did you ever notice when Catholic bishops walk into the church, they often are carrying a stick?
Yeah.
Did you notice that? And that stick is in the shape of a shepherd's crook or a shepherd's staff. Have you noticed that? Mm-hmm. And it's a symbol of how it is that bishop is called to be a shepherd. Mm-hmm. But think about that symbol for a moment. That crozier, that shepherd's staff, could be used for 2 purposes. You could use it to gather together the sheep. But if you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, I imagine you could also use that stick for other less than kind ways of treating those sheep. And isn't that true of our words and actions as well? Every morning we wake up, we can use our words and actions to bring people closer. And or on those days when we all wake up on the wrong side of the bed, what happens? Sometimes we use our words and actions and they drive people
crazy.
A little farther from us. They drive people crazy. Mm-hmm. Right? In today's second reading, the author of that letter to the Ephesians says, God has reconciled us. What does that word reconcile mean? It comes from a fancy Latin root meaning eyelash, concilium, eyelash. God has reconciled us for those times when we have turned our backs on God and or on one another. What happens when through reconciliation, reconcilium, we're brought eyelash to eyelash again with those people. Even those moments, think of that story of the prodigal child in Luke chapter 15. Have you heard that story before? Of the boy who turned his back on his father, went to a foreign land, but then came the moment of reconciliation when he realized what he did, and what did he do? He turned around again. Sisters and brothers, it's time for us to turn around. It's time for us to be reconciled with God and with one another. Nourished by this word and by this sacrament, let's go out these doors today and let's be the good shepherds we're called to be. Rounding up and caring for others rather than using our words and actions to drive them apart.